This system, guys, these laws that they've put in place on their stolen land was never designed for us. It's always been designed to break us. They tried to make us, they forced us in chains to build this system. And then they want us to follow the rules and the laws of this system. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. I am exhausted. I am tired. I've been crying all night, but there have been people that fought bigger battles before me, and I know their names. I know their names. You can't silence what we've given to this world. So though you try to stop me with your systems and your laws, I'm passing out candy, I'm passing out food, I'm passing out toys. You can write me tickets, you can pull me in jail, you can talk to me disrespectfully in court, but you can't stop me.
I'm Giovanna Lotta, live from ABC7. Shirley Raines, a champion of helping homeless people on Skid Row, has died. Her nonprofit Beauty to the Streets shared the devastating news. The group said her legacy will continue to live on through the work she started and the hearts she touched. For years, the Long Beach resident offered beauty services, food, showers, and more to the homeless people of Skid Row through her nonprofit. She was just 58 years old.
On January 27, 2026, a woman who had saved thousands of lives was found dead in her Nevada home, lying next to her bed with a single white pill near her pillow. The woman was Shirley Raines, and what makes this case so haunting is that just 24 hours before her death, she was doing what she always did, handing out lunches to homeless people from her car, smiling, calling them kings and queens. By the next night, she was gone at just 58 years old, and nobody saw it coming.
Good to see you, baby.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, you're very welcome, King. Thank you for saying thank you, honey. Hey, King, how you doing? Thank you for saying thank you.
If you're new to the Mistora Crime family, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, smash that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a case like this. We're building a community here, and I need you to be part of it. Now, let's get into this story because, trust me, it gets deeper than you think. Shirley Raines wasn't just anybody. This woman was CNN Hero of the Year in 2021. She had over 1 million Instagram followers and more than 5 million people watching her on TikTok. Lizzo brought her on stage at the People's Choice Awards. Time magazine named her one of the most influential digital creators in 2025. But here's what really matters. Shirley spent every single day of the last 9 years of her life feeding, clothing, and giving dignity to people living on Skid Row in Los Angeles. She didn't just hand out food. She gave people haircuts, makeup, wigs for transgender folks who needed them. She remembered birthdays. She called people by their names when the rest of society pretended they didn't exist. But if we're going to understand what happened to Shirley Raines, we need to go back, way back to 1990, because that's where this story really begins. Shirley was a young mother living in Compton, California. She had a 2-year-old son named Demetrius. One day, she left with his grandmother, just a normal day, the kind of thing parents do all the time. But that day turned into the worst day of her life. Little Demetrius got into something he shouldn't have. Accidental poisoning. That's what they called it. Her baby boy died, and Shirley's world completely shattered. Now listen to this. After losing Demetrius, Shirley fell into darkness for 30 years. 3 decades, you guys. She struggled with money, with grief, with just trying to survive each day. She later said her son didn't come out for 30 years. 30 years worth of tomorrows before she even saw daylight again. Can you imagine carrying that kind of pain for that long? Most of us can't go 30 days dealing with real grief without breaking down. In 2020, Shirley admitted she was taking Prozac every day for panic disorder. The weight of losing a child, the guilt that comes with it. Even when it's not your fault, that stuff doesn't just go away. It lives inside you, eating at you bit by bit. But here's where Shirley was different from most people. Instead of letting that pain destroy her completely, she found a way to transform it into something beautiful. Fast forward to 2017. Shirley's working as a medical biller, just getting by, still carrying all that grief from 27 years earlier. Her church group asked her to come help feed homeless people on Skid Row. She shows up probably not expecting much, just trying to do a good deed. But something happened that day that changed everything. The homeless folks started complimenting her style, her clothes, her hair. They were drawn to her energy. And right there, standing in one of the most desperate places in America, Shirley had what she called a revelation. She saw herself in them. Think about this for a second. Here's a woman who spent decades feeling invisible in her own pain, and now she's standing in front of people that society had made invisible. She told CNN in 2021, and I'm paraphrasing here, that she was a mother without a son, and there were people in the streets without a mother, and it felt like a fair exchange. That's powerful, right? She literally saw her purpose in the faces of people everyone else walked past. So Shirley started going back to Skid Row, not just with her church group, but on her own. She'd bring food that she cooked in her tiny one-bedroom apartment in Long Beach. We're talking 400 meals a week that she was making herself. But she didn't stop there. She started bringing makeup, hair dye, clippers. She'd set up right there on the street and give people makeovers. Full hair color, cuts, makeup, the works. And here's the thing that really gets me. She didn't do it like she was doing charity work. She treated every single person like royalty. She called them king and queen, not as a joke, not as some patronizing thing, but because she genuinely believed they deserved that dignity. Word started spreading. Shirley began live streaming what she was doing, posting videos on TikTok and Instagram. Professional hairstylists and makeup artists saw what she was doing and reached out wanting to help. Makeup companies started donating products. By 2019, she made it official, registering Beauty to the Streets as a real nonprofit organization. This wasn't just a hobby anymore. This was her life's mission. Then 2020 hit and COVID shut down the world. Most people pulled back, stayed home, protected themselves. Not Shirley. She saw that the homeless population had zero access to protection, no way to socially distance, nowhere to wash their hands properly. So she pivoted. Beauty to the Streets became a COVID testing site, a vaccination center. She handed out masks, PPE, sanitizer, all while still providing food and those dignity services she'd become known for. The woman was relentless. December 2021, Shirley gets named CNN Hero of the Year. She walks on that stage wearing a hot purple sequin suit with a matching hot pink fade in her hair, and she's crying, but she's strong too. She says something that still gives me chills. She told the world, I stand before you a very broken woman. But it's important that you know that broken people are very much useful. She got a $100,000 grant that night plus $10,000 in cash. Most people would take that money and relax a little. Shirley took it and expanded her work to San Francisco, Las Vegas, and Dallas. In 2022, Lizzo wins People's Choice Award for People's Champion, and instead of just giving a speech and walking off, she brings 17 activists on stage with her, and Shirley Raines is one of them. Lizzo spent time introducing each person individually, giving them their flowers in front of millions of viewers. By 2025, NAACP gives Shirley an Image Award for Outstanding Social Media Personality, and Time magazine puts her on the Time 100 Creators list. This woman had become a force, a movement, proof that one person really can make a difference. But here's where things start feeling off. Despite all this success, despite millions of people knowing her name and following her work, Shirley was still human. She was still carrying trauma from losing Demetrius 35 years earlier. She was still dealing with panic disorder. And according to what we know, she was doing all of this work, managing a growing nonprofit, traveling to multiple cities, maintaining a massive social media presence, and trying to be there for her 5 living children, all while processing grief that never really goes away.
Shirley, tell us a little bit about why you do this.
For me, it comes from my trauma and my pain. I buried my son many years ago. When I buried my son, I was essentially homeless, staying in a hotel, my husband and myself. And I remember the night he was so restless, and I felt so bad for fussing at him. I sent him to my grandmother's house, his great-grandmother, and she left some medication lying around. That, of course, affected my whole mental, the guilt of not having stability. I went into massive panic attack and disorder. I was working and I was just living life, but I wasn't a happy person. I was very traumatized, you know what I mean? And I wanted a purpose for my pain. I knew I couldn't get rid of the pain, but I knew if I could find a purpose for it, if it make sense. You know, I took my spiritual journeys. I did whatever I could. And honest to goodness, I remember being at my desk one day. I was a medical biller. And I remember just saying, I'm tired, God. I'm tired of this life. Like, what is all this for? And at that moment, a week later, somebody asked me to go to an event at a park. And then somebody said, hey, you want to make bags for the homeless? And I helped make bags for the homeless. And then they said, would you like to come out with us and pass them out? Well, when I went to Skid Row into the streets, people were saying, oh, I love your hair. I love your makeup. I love your nails. I'm like, oh, I could do that for you. So I became the beauty lady. All the young kids found me in Skid Row in the back streets of LA. I started doing hair and makeup. And of course, like I was saying, we talked about cultural. We're not going to get people stuff without feeding them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, let me get some pizza. Let me get some food. So we started bringing food and I started feeding people. And it kind of began my journey on helping people, having a purpose for my pain. You know what I mean? Like, I can't bring my son back. I can't change my circumstances, but there's so many single mothers struggling who are in my position, whose children might be at risk as well. You know, and the community needed something that I had to give. And it, honest to goodness, it healed so much of me. Like, I get so much credit for doing this work, but I don't think people know I need to do this work. Like, it heals me. Without this work, I think about everything that I've messed up in life.
January 26, 2026, a Monday, Shirley posts a video from inside her car. She's handing out lunches to people, same as always, smiling, talking to folks, doing her thing. Nobody watching that video would think anything was wrong. She looked fine, sounded fine, just Shirley being Shirley. That was the last time anyone saw her alive on camera. The next day, January 27th, her daughter Rashawn, who's 33 years old, tries calling her mom all day. No answer. Now, if you know anything about mothers and daughters, especially close ones, you know that's not normal. Shirley was active on social media constantly. She was always reachable. So when an entire day goes by with nothing, Rashawn knows something's wrong. She calls for a wellness check. Police show up to Shirley's Nevada home that Tuesday night. They find her unresponsive next to her bed, just lying there, gone. On her bed, there's a finished plate of food, like she'd just eaten. And here's a detail that makes this whole thing even more mysterious. There's a single white pill near her pillow. Just one pill, sitting there. The officers are told that Shirley had been taking medication, but here's where the story gets contradictory and honestly pretty confusing. Back in 2020, Shirley publicly said she took Prozac daily for panic disorder. That's not unusual. Millions of people take antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds. But when Shirley's twin sister Sheila talks to the media after her death, she says something completely different. Sheila insists that Shirley had been healthy and wasn't on any medications. She says the entire family was shocked, that nothing seemed wrong, and that they don't suspect foul play. So which is it? Was she on medication or not? If she was taking something in 2020, did she stop? Did she switch medications? Was that white pill near her pillow something prescribed or something else? These are the questions that should be answered, but so far, we don't have clear answers. The Clark County Coroner's Office still hasn't released an official cause of death. No toxicology reports have been made public. Nothing definitive. Let's think about what we know for sure. A 58-year-old woman who appeared healthy dies suddenly in her home. There's a pill near her pillow. She had a history of taking medication for mental health. She'd experienced severe trauma and carried grief for over 3 decades. She was working herself to the bone running a nonprofit that had expanded to 4 major cities. She had millions of people watching her every move on social media. That's an enormous amount of pressure for anyone. Here's what bothers me about this case. The lack of information. When a public figure dies suddenly, especially someone as beloved as Shirley, you'd expect more transparency. You'd expect the family or the organization to release some kind of statement with details. Instead, we get bits and pieces that don't quite add up. Her sister says she wasn't on meds. Police find a pill. Nobody's calling it suspicious, but nobody's explaining what happened either. After news of her death broke, donations poured into beauty to the streets. People wanted to keep her mission alive, and that's beautiful. That really is. But it also raises questions. Who's running the organization now? Where's all that money going? Is anyone investigating whether the stress of managing all of this contributed to her death? Because let's be real, burnout kills people. Maybe not always in obvious ways, but absolutely destroys people from the inside out. Lizzo posted a heartbreaking tribute calling Shirley a constant source of love and encouragement, saying people like her are rare and special and deserve to be protected and honored. LA Mayor Karen Bass talked about how Shirley became a warm and recognized face on Skid Row, leading with compassion and dignity. These statements are lovely, but they also highlight something important. Everyone knew how hard Shirley was working. Everyone could see the toll this kind of work takes. So why wasn't she better protected? Why wasn't someone making sure she was okay? I want you to think about something. Shirley Raines spent the last 9 years of her life making sure other people felt seen, felt valued, felt human. She gave everything she had to strangers on the street. But who was checking on her? Who was making sure she ate, slept, took care of herself? It's a pattern we see over and over with people who dedicate their lives to helping others. They pour from an empty cup until there's nothing left. And by the time anyone notices, it's too late. Now, I'm not saying anything definitive happened here. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. What I am saying is that this case deserves more attention than it's getting. A woman who touched millions of lives dies suddenly at 58, and we just accept it and move on? That doesn't sit right with me, and it shouldn't sit right with you either. So here's what I want you to think about. What really happened to Shirley Raines? Was this a tragic but natural death? Maybe a heart condition nobody knew about? Maybe a reaction to medication? Or was this something darker? The result of years of untreated trauma, overwhelming pressure, and a system that celebrates helpers but doesn't actually help them? Could someone have prevented this if they'd been paying attention? And the biggest question, are we doing enough to protect the people who protect others? If this story affected you, if you think Shirley Raines deserves more attention and answers, then I need you to do something right now. Smash that like button so this video reaches more people. Leave a comment, share your thoughts on what you think happened. Subscribe to Mistora Crime if you haven't already, because we're not afraid to ask the hard questions other channels won't touch. And hit that bell icon so you're notified the second we drop new content. This community is growing, and we're making sure stories like Shirley's don't get forgotten. Let's keep her memory alive and demand the truth. I'll see you in the next one.